We all know that Trump's new tariffs will make groceries more expensive. But what if they pose a much bigger danger? From risking American safety while traveling to potentially starting a war with our closest allies. I'm attorney Andrea, and I'm gonna break it down. By now, you've probably heard that President Trump has rolled out sweeping new tariffs that hit just about every major trading partner.
1 minute tariffs are going up.
Tariffs on China.
Trade policy.
Trade war with the U.S.
But what does this all really mean for your wallet and your safety? Today, I'm unpacking what all Americans should know, so you're not caught off guard at the register or on vacation. But first, what even are tariffs? And how did we get here? In simple terms, a tariff is a tax that a country's government imposes on goods imported from other countries, typically to protect domestic industries or raise revenue. President Trump has long promised to shake up trade deals and impose tariffs on foreign imports that, in his view, hurt U.S. producers and government revenues. Earlier this year, we saw partial tariffs slapped on Canada and Mexico, then rolled back only to make room for fresh tariffs on a broader array of countries. The White House is clearly doubling down on a policy of taxing goods from overseas to give American producers what Trump calls a fair shot. Where the real shakeup is happening is with China. The existing 20% tariff on Chinese imports just surged an additional 34%, bringing it to a whopping 54%. That is a staggering increase by any standard. While Trump insists that this protects American industries, critics argue that it'll eventually trickle down into higher consumer prices. It's not just China feeling the tariff heat. Virtually all of America's major trading partners are caught in this trade tangle. So far, there are 90 nations that tariffs have been imposed on, including the UK, Switzerland, Brazil, Colombia, Thailand, Japan, Serbia, Nigeria, Israel, and India, just to name a few. From fruits and vegetables to auto parts, it's hard to find a product not touched by some new levy. Prices on perishable goods may rise first because grocery inventories turn over quickly, meaning you might see cost increases on your next grocery run. There's also big talk about the car industry. Between steel and auto part tariffs, car repairs and new car prices are expected to climb. Think of it like the house at a casino also setting the table stakes. When you start paying a premium for everything that goes on the table, who ends up footing the bill in the end? Now, here's where things get really personal. Everyday expenses. Tariffs, by definition, raise prices on imported goods. Think of items like coffee beans, bananas, or European cheeses, things we can't easily or cheaply produce in the US in large quantities. But also think of electronics, clothing, and household staples. If you rely on a foreign supply chain, even indirectly, for your daily purchases, you're gonna see some sticker shock at checkout. Americans traveling abroad aren't just grappling with hotel prices. Recent spikes in violence and international tensions mean your personal safety might be at risk too. In Mexico, the United States Department issued an urgent travel advisory following several high-profile attacks on American citizens, including the fatal shooting of a Northern California couple and a mass assault on a Chicago family. And they even suspended a Royal Caribbean cruise that stopped in Colima, Mexico due to rampant kidnappings. But heightened tensions aren't confined to Mexico alone. International hostility towards American citizens following the enactment of the tariffs are likely to keep on spreading. Even relations with Canada, normally one of America's closest allies, have frayed under the weight of ongoing tariff disputes and negative rhetoric about Canada's sovereignty. This strain became headline news when a 70-year-old Toronto Blue Jays fan was ejected from a baseball game for wearing a Canada is not for sale cap, viewed as a political statement in violation of stadium policy. Many Canadians have grown increasingly uneasy about President Trump's tariff threats and offhand remarks about making Canada, quote, the 51st state. People are afraid that the rift could escalate beyond mere trade war to possibly a full-blown war at our borders. So how is President Trump able to impose such sweeping tariffs? His executive order claims authority under 4 sections of the United States Code, notably the International Emergency Economics Power Act, or the IEEPA, and the National Emergency Act, or the NEA. By declaring a national emergency in response to what the order calls unusual and extraordinary threats to the U.S. economy stemming from the domestic economic policies of key trading partners and structural imbalances in the global trading system, the White House can lawfully impose tariffs tied to that emergency. Trump is, however, the first president in history to use the IEEPA specifically for tariffs, which he first invoked in February against Canada, Mexico, and China. Critics argue that this is an unprecedented use of emergency powers. But unless successfully challenged in court or limited by Congress, the legal framework does allow a president to take these actions once a national emergency is declared. And the White House is also responding to growing concerns about price hikes and job losses. The administration emphasizes that these tariffs are a part of a broader plan to reshore manufacturing, protect American workers, and boost federal revenue. Officials maintain that some price increases are a necessary short-term cost for long-term economic gains. Critics, however, say this approach lacks transparency and relies too heavily on the assumption that businesses will expand in the U.S. to replace foreign imports. The tariffs have been so contentious that 4 Republican senators deviated from their usual party line stance and joined Senate Democrats to vote for a Senate resolution overturning President Trump's initial tariffs on Canadian goods. Supporters of the resolution argued that the law was meant to use against adversaries, not Canada, a longtime U.S. ally. Senator Tim Kaine, the lead sponsor of the resolution, made a public statement in support of Canada, saying, "Tariffs are a tax. Tariffs will hurt our families. Canada is not our enemy." Trump preemptively criticized Republicans for supporting the measure and vowed that he would never sign the bill if it cleared Congress. Essentially, these new tariffs represent a high-stakes gamble. On one hand, they could protect some American industries. On the other, they may inflate prices for everyone else and cost certain workers their jobs. Like anything involving global trade, the ripple effects can spread far, hitting your grocery cart, your car payment, and even your housing costs if you're in the market for a new build. Even more concerning, Trump's tariff policies may also stoke resentment abroad, sometimes violently, leaving American travelers to face any fallout. And there's another overarching question. How long will these tariffs even be in place? Will these policies persist for weeks, months, or years? No one knows for sure, given the global back and forth of the retaliatory measures and the possibility of future exemptions or rollbacks of the tariffs on certain nations. What are your thoughts on President Trump's latest tariff policy and how it might affect you? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, thank you for watching. I'm Attorney Andrea.